I want to start going into detail about the mechanical properties of muscle and how you might arrive at discovering what they are from an experiment like I have sketched out right here. So just as a reminder, this is a little piece of muscle, and probably with the tendon removed. So we really just take a muscle tendon unit from, say, a frog or a rabbit or something, and just get a little slice, a little muscle fiber, and affix it to something rigid, and then put a force gauge right here. And maybe we can pull on it and measure its mechanical properties. Now, I want to start off without considering the contractile abilities of muscle. So let's say we're not going to zap this muscle with any electricity to make it contract. We're just going to look at how the muscle behaves as a function of how we pull on it. And this is going to be, by the way, very much like the stress strain curves we talked about in the last unit. But I'm actually even going to do, I'm not even going to normalize it by the relative length of the muscle or anything. We're just going to do, if you remember way back when we just did a force displacement curve, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to plot the force, and maybe we'll say passive force, as a function of the length of the muscle. Or let's say length of the muscle, but with the understanding that this is for this particular muscle, and that there's going to be some point right here that's the original resting length of the muscle. So that's the length of the muscle when you're not doing anything to it. Obviously, down over here, there's going to be, you're not going to get any force, right? Because if you go this way, the muscle won't start creating any tension until it starts to get beyond its original resting length. Then the muscle behaves very much like a tendon in that it's got this toe region, it stretches out like this, and that seems to be because there is passive elastic material inside the muscle that gives it this passive properties. So completely dead, unexcited muscle will stretch out just like a tendon or just like a ligament. Now, it won't stretch as much. The steepness, the stiffness here, the slope is not as high. But in terms of its passive properties, muscle does seem to act sort of like this nonlinear spring. It's got a little toe region down here and then a linear region up here. Absolutely by the book force response. Now, where things start to get interesting is when we start to look at what the muscle does under when it's actually activated. But before we go to that, we should maybe just keep in mind that because muscle has this passive force we shouldn't say generation. We should say this passive elastic property. Whatever the active forces of muscles are, they're also going to be dealing with this passive component as well. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll table that idea for now, and we'll come back to it in a few videos.